In a way or another, we have all heard about Marian apparitions through television broadcasts or anything else, but we do not know why she's appearing. The Heavenly Mother is appearing through visionaries scattered all over the world. She gives prophecies that I have studied, and they are so important that I made introspect and act accordingly. And what I did, I listed these prophecies on a sheet of paper. I made thousands of copies from my personal initiative, and I started traveling around Italy, touching various cities. I went to the Carabinieri stations of Finance Guard Police. I rang the bell. They let me in. They asked me the identity document, recorded personal data, and then I handed them over the sheet explaining the content with the hope that this information would be disseminated as much as possible. I also went to the police headquarters station to Rome, Vicenza, Turin, Ferrara, Ancona, Brescia. And as I'm posting this movie on YouTube, I can't lie talking of police, carabinieri, finance, guard police. I would risk taking a report. I also went to the army in Rome, Piacenza, Cremona. At the Cremona barrack, I went twice, and the second time they pushed me out, they immediately invited me to get out. I spent thousands and thousands of euros in copy, in traveling, petrol, highway tolls. Every weekend, actually every weekend from 2015 to 2019, I was out of my city to distribute these sheets. Why I did all this, despite some difficulties and some mistreatment that I received. It's either that I went crazy, or thanks to these Marian messages, I discovered some extremely important information. Let's begin to see the messages. Trevignano Romano, Apparitions in Rome, 2017. Pray for a world peace. A war is getting prepared where Russia, China, and the United States will be involved. Antonio, Visionary of Salerno, Capua, 2001. Dear child, very soon it will happen what was predicted from mine and yours mother to the 4 children in Garavandal, the Spain apparitions. My son, at the beginning of this new millennium, there will be an enormous punishment for 2 big nations, whose name begins with the letter A, as predicted from my mother to the girls of Garabandal. What are these 2A? 2001. I saw a black ribbon that, like a shooting star, was going to crash to the same direction where once there were the Twin Towers. I asked the Lord the meaning of the vision. My son, the vision I have just shown you, it means that very soon the darkness will fall onto humanity. America will soon enter into a holy war with Asia. It will soon happen, a war between America and allies, America, Europe, and Israel, against Asia and allies, China, Russia, and Arab countries. And what will be the triggering cause? Carbonia Apparitions in Sardinia, 2017. China threats the world to candidate herself as a world leader. America is upset and fights her. The evil is awaiting the massacre. After the Cold War concluded in 1991, America declares to be the world leadership at a political, economic, and military level. Within few years, the situation changes. China becomes the world's largest exporter of goods. It does massive foreign investments and rivals the technology supremacy of America in terms of product capacity and quality of the products. America instead is a bankrupt country full of debt. It created billions of dollars virtually out of nothing, With a computer to pay pensions and salaries and state expenses, America is no longer number one in the world. In 1997, in Washington, it was constituted the PNAC Research Institute, namely Project for the New American Century, which published in September 1997 a 90-page report entitled Rebuilding the Defenses of America: Strategies, Forces and Resources for a New Century. America wants to remain the world leader. In fact, on the document it is written that by 2017, China will be able to counter American power on a political, economic, and military level, and must be stopped before it can become a threat. Most of the ideas of the PNAC are associated with the right-wing neoconservative or neocon movement led by George W. Bush. Let's see this image. Those are the members of PNAC. We see Paul Wolfowitz, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Richard Pearl, and Jeb Bush, always together with the President George W. Bush of the neocon. And what happens? In September 2000, publication of the 90-page document just explained. November 2000, American presidential elections. January 2001, President Bush takes office. September 2001, attack to the Twin Towers. The world falls under tension. Two planes collide with the towers and they collapse perfectly straight, one after 40 minutes and the other one after 1 hour and 30 minutes. The fact is that they were designed to fully and widely absorb the impact with any civil plane, with consequent fire. The official version stated that the area hit by the plane reached very high temperatures and the internal floors softened and melted, causing the structure to fall. However, the structure is composed of very strong steel crossings and the steel melts at 1500 degrees. Let's see this video. The official thesis states that the heat of the fires has weakened the support structures until they collapse on the cells. But the steel melts at 1500 degrees and must be exposed to a temperature of at least 800 degrees for very long hours before even beginning to soften. In Madrid, a similar building burned for 2 whole days at temperatures much higher than those of the Twin Towers without the steel showing the slightest sign of weakening later on. There are these thermographic images taken by an indoor infrared camera which indicate temperatures much lower than those necessary to weaken the steel. This is the North Tower scanned from the bottom where you can see the silhouette. It is 9:18, therefore it's about half of an hour after the first impact and the temperature never reaches the yellow color, namely does not exceed 100 degrees Celsius. And this is the South Tower, about 15 minutes after the impact of the second plane has passed and the temperature, also in this case, does not exceed 100 degrees Celsius. From the thermographic image, we have seen that it has not been exceeded 100 degrees, while an extremely more intense heat was needed to melt the structure. But let's suppose we have reached 1500 degrees. Let's see this video. Another inexplicable fact is the impressive speed of fall of the 3 buildings. About 10 seconds for the towers, more than 100 floors for 400 meters each, and 6 seconds for the building number 7, 40 floors for about 150 meters in height. The three towers practically fell down at the same time. It would have taken a steel ball to reach the ground that dropped from the roof of the building at the time of the beginning of the collapse. But this contradicts one of the best known principles of physics, according to which instead the various floors falling one on each other they should have accumulated a progressive delay resulting in a total time of fall much longer than that of the sphere thrown into the void. I take an example. I take a steel sphere and I set it next to the tower at the same height. I drop the sphere at the same time which the tower begins to collapse, and I will see that the time and the speed of fall are practically the same. And this is impossible. Why? We see the image. The underlying structure at a point of impact, as we see, it was perfectly intact and must have resisted and significantly slow down the time and the speed of the fall. The tower could collapse at a speed of free fall only if below the point of impact it was the total vacuum. Furthermore, the World Trade Center number 7, a 40-story building 150 meters high, without being hit by a plane, it collapsed in a time of 6 seconds. Let's see this video. Contrary to the Twin Towers, the building number 7 was not hit by any aeroplane. It was only partially damaged by the collapse of the North Tower and had suffered fires that were anything but devastating. Nothing suggested that it would collapse. On the other hand, it seems that everyone liked a perfect controlled demolition. The integral collapse began suddenly. There was a rapid acceleration downwards. There was a symmetrical descent of the whole structure. It even seemed that the collapse started from the bottom, as in the majority of controlled demolitions. The professionals in the demolition industry, like the Dutch Danny Jowenko, seem not to have any doubts about what happened. This is a controlled demolition. Are you sure? I'm sure. They made it implode. It's a professional work made by a team of experts. The World Trade Center number 7 and the Twin Towers were collapsed with the use of explosive charges, as it is done with all buildings to be demolished, and everything was organized to perfection. It was blamed Bin Laden, the head of Al-Qaeda, and because of this great farce, the war broke out in Afghanistan. 2 days after the 11th of September, the American Congress issued a law authorizing the president to declare war on any nation he would deem to be involved with the 9/11. America declares that Iraq is connected with Al-Qaeda and that Baghdad, the capital, holds chemical, biological weapons and missiles that reach a distance that have a range greater than what is allowed from the United Nations. The State Secretary Colin Powell presents to the UN a false document that proves the existence of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And here comes Ahmed Chalabi, an opponent of the regime of Saddam Hussein. Let's see this image. This is Ahmed Chalabi, we can see also here, in company of Donald Rumsfeld. Ahmed Chalabi knew personally Donald Rumsfeld and other components of the PNAT, such as Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Perls, and Jeb Bush. And I repeat, PNAC means Project for a New American and Non-Iraqi Century. On November 2, 2015, a French journalist of TV channel France 5, she interviewed Ahmed Chalabi, and what this man declares. America, as early as 2001, have asked me for clues for any elements useful to build an accusation against the weapons of Iraq. The day after, Ahmed Chalabi is found dead due to heart attack. He was the one who helped the American intelligence to build a fake document of chemical weapons in the hands of Saddam Hussein. Because of this farce, another organized war was started in Iraq, but the Heavenly Mother intervenes with this message. Visionary Antonio Salerno, 2003. I saw the Holy Virgin shining like the sun. She had in her right hand a bomb with a lit fuse, and with the same hand she indicated America to the point where once stood the Twin Towers. Dear son, the vision I showed you symbolizes a nuclear war inevitably caused by the attack that America will conduct to Iraq. If America will not introspect on a possible peaceful resolution of the dispute, it itself will seriously and terribly bear the consequences of this war. In January 2003, the Heavenly Mother foretells a war that after 2 months bursts. Prophecy accomplished. By the attack to Iraq, it will come tremendous consequences. Why actually related to Iraq we'll see later. If America does not stop, it will suffer heavily. Matthew 26. And here is one of those who were with Jesus, putting hand to the sword. He put it out and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off an ear. Then Jesus told him, put the sword back in its sheath, because all those who put their hand to the sword will perish by the sword. All. He did not say all Christians who wound by the sword will perish by the sword. He said everybody, regardless of social classes, religions, nationalities. All those who hurt by the sword will perish by the sword. He announced a very precise law. All the evil we do, it goes back with times that we do not understand, but everything comes back. America has profoundly transgressed this law and continue to organize wars. On March 15, 2011, the public demonstrations against the Assad regime began. On 2012, the actual civil war in Syria begins. On January 23, 2012, let's see this image, the rebel group called Jabhat al-Nusra li al-Sham is formed, better known as the Front al-Nusra of Syria, headed by Abu Mohammed al-Julani, who actually announces the formation of this terrorist cell. On April 2013, intervenes al-Baghdadi and says, the Front al-Nusra is supported and financed by us, and for us it is understood as the Islamic State of Iraq. That is the group of terrorists of Iraq called IZ, and captained by the same al-Baghdadi. And yet, the al-Nusra Front is nothing else than an extension of the IZ in Syria, and soon the two groups will join together under the name of the Islamic State of Iraq, al-Sham. That is the group of IZ united to the group of Syria, which form the infamous ISIS. Let's see this image of 2013. We have al-Baghdadi, the head of the IZ, together with Muhammad Noor, a spokesman of the Al-Nusra Front. So we have two prominent elements from the ISIS, two notorious enemies of America. And what they do together with the American Senator John McCain? That's a good question. Actually, al-Baghdadi is part of the Israeli secret services, the Mossad, and the ISIS was backed, trained, and financed with $1 billion by the CIA in the operation called Timber Sycamore. America invented the fact that the Assad regime used chlorine gas against the rebels in the city of Idlib, causing 80 innocent victims, including dozens of children. The American Secret Services said they had traced communications between military officers and chemist experts while talking about the preparation of an attack, of a sarin gas attack. I add, Syria did not grant America the permission to build a huge oil pipeline that was supposed to transit through Syrian territory. In 2014, the US Army goes to war in Syria with the excuse of terrorism of the ISIS, the excuse of chemical weapons, but the real reason was to rob Assad's oil wells. The usual American game, the usual organized war. But the Heavenly Mother intervenes with an alarming message. Apparitions in Zaro, Ischia Island, Napoli, 2012. Daughter, what is happening in Syria is very worrying. This war pains me a lot. Pray, pray, pray. Monteberico apparitions in Vicenza, 2015. For years I have been trying to make all my children understand to return to God, because the danger is looming. The times have shortened and you do nothing. The usual indifference. Have you seen Russia, America, the disbeliever France? All have departed, children, from Syria and the Middle East. The Third World War will start. On 2015, an unforeseen event happens. Russia enters into war in Syria. It begins to bomb ISIS with aeroplanes, helicopters, and ships that send cruise missiles from the Caspian area, traveling at the height of 200 meters and a speed of 2.5 times the sound speed. They are unstoppable. On September 22, 2015, the bombings begin. On December 6, 2017, the President Putin declares ISIS has been defeated. Russia has fought against terrorism in favor of America. But we have just said that ISIS has been created by the Americans. So the Russians have opposed the plans of America. That's why the Heavenly Mother, in the message, she announced a warring situation from Syria, from which a Third World War will begin. The superpowers have thousands of nuclear warheads. It will not be a war like the previous ones. Question: in which times we live? Antonio, Visionary in Salerno, 2002. My child, do not fear. I'm Sariel the angel. Do listen well what I'm about to tell you. When America will attack Iraq, it will be a sign that God is about to punish the humanity. From here, you will understand that God has given orders to his angel to pour the first cup over the whole world. There will be a holy war between Asian people and the rest of the world, caused by America. Caused by America. 1/3 of humanity will be wiped off from the earth plane due to this war. We look at this image. We have the Euphrates River lapping 4 nations. The first of these 4 nations to be affected by the war is Iraq. The Heavenly Mother said America's attack on Iraq means that God has poured the first cup on the world to punish humanity. The cups are the punishments sent by God during the tribulation. So we are going to live a war described in the tribulation. The Heavenly Mother added, from Syria the Third World War will start. Also Syria is touched by the Euphrates River. The Turkish army and the Iranian army are present in the war in Syria. Also in Syria we have the presence of the 2 most powerful armies in the world, one opponent to the other, Russia and America, the East and the West. The 4 nations crossed by the Euphrates River live a very tense situation. The Heavenly Mother added, this war will cause the death of 1/3 of humanity. Let's see. Revelation 9. The 6th angel blew the trumpet. Then I heard a voice from the sides of the golden altar that stands before God that was saying to the 6th angel with the trumpet, release the 4 angels chained on the great Euphrates River. The 4 angels. So the 4 angels were unchained for the hour, the day, the month, and the year to exterminate 1/3 of humanity. Here it is. Here we are entering to live the scenario described in Tribulation 9. But the Heavenly Mother added that this war is caused by America, the West. So returning to the law of action and reaction, whoever wants by the sword will perish by the sword, we can imagine that the kings of the East shall win this final confrontation. Tribulation 16. I heard then a loud voice from the temple that said to the 7 angels, go and pour on the earth the 7 bowls of the wrath of God. The 6th poured his bowl above the great Euphrates River, and its waters were drained to prepare the passage to the kings of the East. Then from the mouth of the dragon, from the mouth of the beast, and from the mouth of the false prophet, I saw 3 filthy spirits come out, similar to frogs. They are in fact spirits of demons who work wonders and go gathering all the kings of earth for the war of the great day of the Almighty God. It is written that from the Euphrates River will start the great war. In fact, the Heavenly Mother has announced that from Syria, that we have seen is crossed by the Euphrates River, the Third World War will start. Everything perfectly matches. Carbonia 2014. The east wind blows strong on the earth. Its evil is in Satan. Soon will happen the great war. What a distraction, my children. The nation of the United States will fall on her knees. Her evil will fall into her own evil. It will be actually the kings of the East to defeat the West, the America. Zaro, 2012. America will suffer a great attack that will put her on her knees. Henry Groover, 1986, Wales. In the vision, he was taken to heaven, and from above he looked at the earth as in a map, and he saw from Russia a massive naval war force coming from the Arctic Sea, arriving to the Atlantic Ocean to attack the United States from the east by the sea. At the same time, he saw a mighty military force hitting the west coast. Nuclear submarines stationed along the coastal American lines have attacked with nuclear warheads New York and other big cities. Russia possesses submarine drones. This is a kind of unmanned submarine guided from remote, equipped with an atomic engine that allows it to remain in perennial immersion. Its strong point is that it travels at a depth of 1,000 meters and at a speed of 200 kilometers per hour. And it is not detectable from the American submarine torpedoes such as the Mark 48, which reach a maximum depth of 800 meters. This drone is armed with very powerful nuclear warheads that can hit ships and coastal structures, causing tsunamis, that is, a large-scale natural events that can destroy entire cities. Sister Elena Aiello, an Italian stigmatized nun, 1944. If men do not recognize in this scourge the cause of divine mercy and do not return to God with a truly Christian life, another terrible war will come from east to west, and Russia, with its secret weapons, will fight America. It will overwhelm Europe, also Europe, and especially the Rhine River will be seen, remember the Rhine River, in Germany full of corpses and blood. Also Italy will be troubled by a great revolution, and Pope will have to suffer much. The enemy, as a roaring lion, will advance towards Rome, and its goal will poison the people and nations. Anton Johansson, visionary in Sweden, he died on 1909. Germany will be attacked from the east, but will also be beaten by an internal civil war. There will be a Russian attack also in the United States. This will prevent American forces to bring aid to Europe. New concept weapons will create large-scale natural events, such as, for example, the submarine drones from Russia. Carbonia 2015. America will perish, Europe will perish, together will be the defeated nations, because they have sold themselves to Satan and his evil projects. Your evil plans to control and possess the world will crash one after the other. At the same time of America, also Europe will be attacked. And you may say, but Europe does not organize wars. That's not the case. On April 4, 1949 in Washington, the NATO treaty was signed. And what's that? It is an alliance among various nations at a military level. If a NATO member country is attacked, the other NATO member states intervene to help it. In fact, in 1949, on our Constitution, it was written that NATO is a military alliance with Italy that allows member countries to be helped by all the others in case of an attack. It is a large group, a large army that cannot leave its territory and intervenes only if it is attacked within. At the beginning was made up to 12 nations, US, Canada, and we see the image, Italy, France, Portugal, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, United Kingdom, Norway, and Iceland. Now the countries that make up the NATO are 29. We see them highlighted. They are located in Europe. The NATO represents Europe. And what happened? On the eve of the war in Yugoslavia, Mr. D'Alema went to Washington and signed the amendment of the Funding Pact of NATO of 1949. After the signature, the NATO army engaged the war in Yugoslavia. They leave its territory and attacks, they invade and kill. In fact, it supported America in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, in Iraq, and as I said before, those are totally organized war. The NATO kills innocent victims and it is paid by us. We are totally accomplices. The American army has invaded Middle Eastern countries to eradicate primary resources. It is encircling China because it is considered, as we have already said, the main world enemy at an economical level. In the countries that are surrounding China, such as Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Cambodia, there is the presence of numerous American military bases. For example, in Japan there are 121, in South Korea 83. The United States are adopting this method of military encirclement towards the enemy. Russia has entered the war in Syria and opposed the American plans. And the United States are adopting the same methodology. They are encircling Russia. And how? Let's see this image. They have placed hundreds of nuclear warheads near the Russian territory, in Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, and still in this area they have placed fighter bombers and strategic missiles that can strike within 3 minutes the civil areas of Russia, such as St. Petersburg and Moscow. Europe is totally an accomplice to the American plans. Even Europe is deeply transgressing the law of God that states that whoever wounds by the sword, he will perish by the sword. In fact, he will be invaded and destroyed. The most affected nations will be Italy and Germany. By the case, precisely in the Tribulation book, it is mentioned of an Italian city that will be massacred. Tribulation 17. And one of the 7 angels who have the 7 cups came and spoke to me. Come here, I will show you the sentence of the great prostitute who sits near the great waters. Here it is necessary a wise mind. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman is sitting. The 10 horns you saw, and the beast will eat the prostitute. They will strip her and leave her naked, will eat her flesh, and will burn her with fire. The city of the 7 hills is Rome, and will be physically invaded by the enemy and will be touched in the flesh. The inhabitants will be killed. The 3 fountains, apparitions in Rome, visionary Bruno Carnacchiola, 1947. Before Russia converts and leaves the path of atheism, a terrible and serious persecution will break out. Pray, you can stop it. The world will go to another war, more ruthless than the previous one, and the eternal fortress will be hit at most in Rome. Carbonia, 2015. The altar of the fatherland will suffer of the attack of the enemies. There will be those who will enter Rome to possess it and create destruction. They will open fire. There will be many. Will enter with tanks. Will invade the streets of the capital. 2015. The horror is to arrive from east. The Russians will march on Rome. They will devastate the city and kill many people. Anguera apparitions in Brazil, 2005. The ferocious bear, the bear is Russia, will pass through various nations. Then after we'll see how. And will arrive to Rome. It will leave its mark. The blood will flow on the ground. Luz de Maria apparitions in Argentina, 2010. Rome is a symbol of power, and for this reason Italy will suffer by foreign hands. Italy is the second European country to host the largest number of American nuclear warheads. And this is a crime. Italy participated in the organized wars in Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Iraq, and this is another crime. It is present in Nisemi, in Caltanissetta, Sicily. The MUOS station, a satellite communication system at very high frequencies that allows to manage and coordinate all weapons and American drones. And this is a very dangerous weapon. Rome is a symbol of power, and this also attracts evil. Rome Caput Mundi, the Roman Empire, the Roman legions. Rome hosts the headquarters of the NATO Central Command of the Mediterranean region. Italy will be invaded and destroyed by the Russians, who will arrive with tanks and not by air. The planes can carry at max 2 tanks at a time, and it is inconvenient for military strategies. Russia will trace on Europe a path of destruction and death by land up to Italy and Rome. And you will tell me, but the common roads are not able to sustain the weight of military vehicles, especially bridges and flyovers. It's true, but what happened? On 20th March 2018, the European Commission in Brussels presented an action plan to facilitate and improve the viability of military vehicles on the European territory, to cut off the time spent in customs and various control practices, and identify, modify, or rebuild all the structures and everything that prevents the transit of military vehicles. For example, an old bridge cannot sustain the weight of a row of tanks. It should be rebuilt in a different way. Let's go back to the law of action and reaction. Europe is strengthening the roads to facilitate preparations for a war against Russia. As a consequence, the enemy itself will use these roads to attack us. Joseph Stockert, visionary in Germany, 1947. The tanks travel through Germany. They will come from east and with great speed will go to the west. They will knock down any obstacle encountered on the way. Will join the west through 3 main lines: the North Sea, central Germany, and the south through the Alps in the northern Italy. So we will see that they will use all the European roads. The Russian tanks will reach the Rhine, again the Rhine, and the whole country will be full of foreign soldiers who will kill and rape without any control. Germany is the first country in Europe to host the largest number of American nuclear warheads on its territory, And this is a silent crime, but nevertheless a terrible one that will backfire against them. Germany has participated to the well-known organized wars, from the American base of Ramstein in Germany. The drones has left that traveled thousands of kilometers. They arrived in Yemen and they bombed and killed innocent civilians. Furthermore, Germany possesses a symbol that attracts the enemy. Alois Irrmeier, Visionary in Germany, 1950. The massed units march from east to Belgrade and move towards Italy. Then the three armed wedges immediately advance at the speed of light to the north of Danube over the West Germany towards the Rhine without any prior warning. This will occur so unexpectedly that the population will flee from west in panic. Many cars will clog the roads. They would have better stayed at home or not to use the main roads. At this, that will be an obstacle to the rapid advancement of tanks on highways and other fast roads. It will be swept away. The Rhine Valley will be devastated, mainly by air. The Russians will not stop in their advance in three directions. Day and night they will advance to reach the Ruhr district. The second vanguard comes from western direction over Saxony towards the Ruhr region. Day and night the Russians run inexorably. Their target is the Ruhr region. In all the messages describing the attack of Russia to Germany, it is mentioned about the Rhine River, and here it is added the Ruhr. The Ruhr is a German region crossed by the Rhine. Let's see this image. Uprising of Rhine and the Ruhr, March 1920. On 13th March 1920, a huge militia was formed. It was composed by 50,000 workers that conquered the whole Ruhr region. There had been in the past small revolts, but never in Europe it was gathered such a massive army of workers. This group was part of the CAPD, a party that wanted to impose the power and dictatorship of the working class. The Ruhr region is a symbol of communist revolt and dictatorship, and will be a highly sensitive target for Russia, precisely because Russians shall want to impose communist power and dictatorship at the world level. Lutz de Maria, 2017. My beloved people, communism will rise with great force as a great power that will dominate humanity and impose itself to the world. Here it is. It all matches. But Jesus had said, all those who are hurt by the sword will perish by the sword. So how this war will end up? Carbonia, 2015. China will invade the world with its troops. Her enterprise is to become the great China, the only great kingdom on earth. Anguera, 2007. The day will come when the raging dragon, that is China, will launch fire on the bear nest, that is Russia, we have seen before, and my poor children will experience great sufferings. China will attack the Russians. Karl von Lichtenfels, Germany, 1999. Europe will be poor, and in every place there will be great despair. A Russian army attacks the Central Europe totally by surprise, from Germany to the Atlantic coast. The Chinese breach an agreement that they had with the Russians and attack them at the side of Siberia. In this situation, the Russians begin to launch nuclear missiles on target cities of Europe and America. But as if the hand of God were guiding it in such moment, an asteroid hits the Earth. The enemies of China, America, and Europe are too strong. The alliance with Russia fits her well. Later on, when Europe and America are defeated, China will betray the Russians, and Russia will react by launching nuclear warheads such to threaten the life of the entire planet. This is why the Heavenly Mother in 1917 in Fatima have asked for the consecration of Russia of her to her Immaculate Heart. The situation becomes serious and the people ask what we can do to avoid all this. Let's see this video. If your son is killed or your father or your mother, do imagine what pain you would feel. Here, that happens every day. Entire families are killed. Only God is left to us. I turn to all of you who are watching, to all the Arabs, to all the countries in the world that stand by and watch in silence. Help us. Only God is left to us. Every day our people are killed, entire families. Only God is left to us. All must know what is happening. Tell to everybody, it is your duty. Entire families are exterminated every day, thousands of children. And they call us terrorists? Here is what a bomb does. That's what they are doing to us. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a parent looking for his own killers, and you have to be an idiot to believe that 19 Arabs did all this. Also, my dog understands this too. Put yourself in my shoes and think about what would do if your son was murdered and no one would investigate about his death. How would you feel if someone refused to investigate about the murder of your son? And this story must be told. The problem of Americans is that they are living as on a big iceberg. We live on the tip of the iceberg and we are frightened by the blackest truth of our history, and the situation continues to worsen. This is a really dark truth. It could pull down the entire iceberg, and then we hope it will re-emerge. But we must know the truth, or this country is no longer worth anything. This whole story sucks, and people should be ashamed not to seek the truth. Matthew 18. Beware of these spies, just one of these little ones, because I tell you that their angels in the sky always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. The children, through the angels, are connected to the sky. The thoughts sent to God are terrible. They want to stop these massacres. They cannot hold it anymore, and they are disgusted by our silence. God, through the voice of some child, communicates that we must stop these wars. The gentleman interviewed said, "We should be ashamed. We no longer seek the truth. Even my dog understands that there were not 19 Arabs who brought down the towers. This man lost his son on September 11, and this suffering led him to investigate further and found that the attack was completely organized. The television does not tell the truth, so we have to make a little effort, do research, and when we acquire the right information, we should spread them as much as possible, so we can stop these wars once and for all. And let's do it not only for the children who are massacred, but also because soon the lukewarm, the silent and indifferent will suffer a punishment that humanity have never seen. In fact, in the message before, it is described during the peak of this war, in that precise moment, a meteorite will hit the planet. It seems that the hand of God will guide it. Let's see these messages. Anguera, 2005. Dear children, an immense ball of fire will come, leaving a great desert. Wherever will be heard shouts and moans, it is the hour of the Lord. Also here, it is the hour of the Lord combined with a fireball. Oliveto Citra Apparitions in Salerno 2005. Very, very, very soon, the sky will drop a great, immense meteorite that will strike in the middle of the word. Be warriors, be sure of your call. Warm the cold hearts, because these are the last times. The heaven takes the action to send the meteorite to our planet. Carbonia 2015. A comet will intervene to put an end to this world of sin. I will launch the fire from my sky that will stop your fires of war. And here it confirms the comet will be sent, will hurl against our planet, actually to stop a great war. And from the sky, what does it mean? Who is in heaven who will send this alien body? Psalms 148. Praise the Eternal from the skies. Praise him in the highest places. Praise him, all his angels. Praise him, all his armies. Here it is who lives in the sky, the angels. It's them who will send this meteorite to earth by divine will. They are the army of Jesus, the executors of his commands. Apparitions in Spain, El Escorial, 1982. My daughter, tell everyone to ask the Eternal Father to hold back his wrath and hold back the stars with his army of angels. Angels can throw a meteorite and hold back the stars. Jesus' army has infinite power that has never manifested and will make the mighty tremble. Carbonia 2014. The world now will blaze up to every corner of the earth, but the justice of God will put an end to this cursed disrepair caused by the iniquitous man, stopping the fire of the weapons with the fire that he will send from the sky. All the mighty on earth will tremble and fall at the sound of the trumpets of the angels of God. Luz de Maria 2015. Humanity is hanging by a thread. A celestial body is approaching. It will make all humanity tremble. They will realize how limited and small they are in front of the infinite power of my Son. Let's deepen the topic about this meteorite. Carbonia 2007. The time is already marked by the impact of this comet that will soon hit the Earth. My arm will dodge a part of it, the largest part. But a part I will have to drop so that the world understands that I'm the one and the true God. 2017. Beloved children, the world is in serious danger. The war is already decided. The powerful of the nations are not backing off. If I did not intervene to stop this madness of the lost man, the whole earth would be destroyed. It will therefore be an intervention of punishment but also of salvation at the same time. The prophecies of Father Pio, my angels will take spiritual care to annihilate all those who make fun of me and who will not believe my prophecies. Hurricanes of fire will be hurled from clouds and spread all over the earth. Storms, thunderstorms, and continuous rains, earthquakes will afflict the earth for 3 days. Then an uninterrupted rain of fire will follow to show that God is the Lord of creation. When the world was entrusted to mankind, it was a garden. The man transformed it into a bramble full of poisons. Nothing now will be enough to purify man's home. A profound work is needed that can only come from heaven. Get ready to live 3 days in total darkness. These 3 days are very close. A meteorite will fall on earth and everything will gasp. It will be a disaster much worse than a war. Let's recap. Let's put things in order. The intervention of Jesus' army, salvation of the planet from a nuclear catastrophe with a meteorite that will be sectioned, calibrated with a weight, volume, and a balanced impact speed suitable for a correct and profound purification of the planet. It will happen in 3 days, the famous 3 days of darkness. Carbonia 2011. when you will see from the sky the asteroid colliding on Earth, you will no longer have time because everything will be very, very short, only dark and cold. And your heart will not be able to make discernment. Be aware that everything is ready now. Time has come. Snow will melt from the glaciers, and the sea will rise with an unprecedented force and overwhelm all the nations, and you will see all your hopes dying, all your projects you made not in me. When all this will happen, it will be the time that the earth will begin to tremble, and from its bowels the fire will come out to destroy everything that the water had not swallowed in itself. It will be the darkest day on earth, the most terrible because the man had never seen such punishment unleashed on earth. Elena, Patriarca Leonardi, Italian visionary. How can I save you if you don't listen to me? Flames will fall from the sky and the wicked will suffer. Upheavals and earthquakes on the humanity that does not repent. The earth will open under your feet and there will be no mercy. Godless nations will be the scourge used by God to punish a humanity that have no respect and scruples, as we have seen before, Russia and China. Then a great punishment will fall upon mankind. Fire and smoke will fall from the sky. The waters of the oceans will turn into vapors, and the foam will rise, overwhelming mankind. Wherever you look, there will be anguish, misery, and ruin. You will remain completely in the dark. The impact with a meteorite, tsunamis, and earthquakes will shake the planet, causing a reaction of the whole nuclear arsenal, resulting in an explosion of the planet. Angels want to avoid the explosion of the planet, so they may therefore absorb all the energy that powers the atomic weapons and of any kind. For a correct purification, there should be no artificial energy whatsoever during the 3 days of darkness. Alois Irmayer. The Russians attacked the West during the night. During the war, it comes the great darkness that lasts 72 hours. That's what I said before, the 3 days of darkness will intervene to stop the great war. Everything matches. It will be dark one day during the war. Do not get out from home. The lights do not work, except candlelight. The electricity stops. Here it is. If you breathe, the dust, there will be spasm and then you will die. Anna Maria Taigi. The immense darkness will come over the earth that will last 3 days and 3 nights. Nothing will be visible and the air will be toxic and pestilential and will bring damage. During these 3 days, the artificial light will not be working. Only the blessed candles will lit. The world war arsenal, it will be rendered totally harmless. It will be drained, sucked up, every energy source present on the planet. That is why the Heavenly Mother said, "My Son Jesus has infinite power." We will have light only thanks to the famous blessed candles that will reflect the light of our spirit, that can increase and intensify since from today with good deeds. She invites not to leave home. The impact with the meteorite, the erupted volcanoes will make the air toxic, unbreathable, and deadly. But let's go back to the message of Padre Pio The last element of purification will be a rain of fire. Enzo Rocci, Italian seer, 1970. It will be a rain of fire and will last 3 days and 3 nights. The fire will be on all the earth, and the wood will be covered with corpses, and many nations will disappear from the planet. El Escorial, 1982. The punishment is near, my daughter, and will consist of this. The stars will impact the earth and are about destroying the most of the humanity. It will be like a rain of fire. The whole earth will tremble, my daughter. It will be horrible. Here is what consists the rain of fire. It will be stars, so celestial bodies of small dimensions in fire that will hit the planet. Carbonia 2013. Here everything is complete. The sun is turning off, the moon will lose its light, and the stars are celestial bodies, will fall on earth, and everything will be in fire and flames. 2017. The book of the Tribulation says that a large rock will hit the earth and speaks of a great earthquake as never happened before and never happen again. It calls for conversion. We are at that time. We have come to God's justice. The World War was foretold in the tribulation. We already said that. The 3 days of darkness are coming consequently in proximity, joined to this war. In turn, also the 3 days of darkness, if everything matches with what I said, that should be described in the passages of the tribulation of St. John. Tribulation 6. When I saw the Lamb break the sixth seal, there was a tremendous earthquake. Here it is, the great earthquake caused by the big rock, the meteorite. The sun became black as the coal, and the moon became red blood. Here are the 3 days of darkness caused by the meteorite, as we said before. Then the stars fell from the sky on earth as the unripe figs fall from the tree shaken by a rushing wind. Here it is the rain of fire during the 3 days of darkness. Everything matches perfectly. The sky receded like a scroll that rolls up, and all the mountains and islands were moved. Then the kings of earth, the majors, the captains, the rich and the powerful, and finally every man, free or slave, all hid in the caves and among the mountain cliffs. The powerful terrified, we have already said that, and said to the mountains and the cliffs, fall upon us and hide us from the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, because the great day of their wrath has taken place. And who can resist? The 3 days of darkness are the sixth seal of the tribulation, the meteorite, the sun darkness, the rain of fire. Finally, the powerful will hide in terror because it's about the manifestation of Jesus at his second coming as judge. So the 3 days of darkness anticipate the return of Christ. Apparitions in Jacareí, Brazil, 2015. Get ready. The 3 days of darkness are very close. Convert without delay. Get ready for the return of my Son Jesus in the glory that is near to come. Carbonia 2017. The moon is to be dark, the sun will darken it, the earth will tremble, That will be the time of my return. Here it is. Luz de Maria 2018. After great events and after the purification of my people, I will return in my second coming, and the celestial vault will change color. The purification due to 3 days of darkness will happen precisely to host the return of Christ on earth. Medjugorje, Father David Lopez in Bosnia, the most known apparition to the world. 1987. The hours of darkness will be exactly 72, and the only means to count them will be the mechanical clocks, because there will be no electricity. After this purification, it will be spring. Everything will be green and clean. The water will be crystal clear, even the water in the taps of the houses. There will be no contamination in the water, neither in the air or in the rivers. The most beautiful thing is that people will live in nature and they will not work to survive, but for love and mutual support. After the great suffering, the great purification, and severe selection of humanity, there will come a great era of peace. Carbonia 2012. Now there will be the great purification, so that the whole earth, together with humanity, can be present before the one who comes. Stefania Caterina 2013. When everything will be brought back in Christ, the Father will create new skies and new earth and will donate them to his children. It will be the new creation, and therein will not be able to enter anything impure. Keeping in consideration a simple rule announced by Christ, we know that all the evil we produce and that we generate, it will return back. The Western Empire organizes war, massacre children, and teases the Eastern Empire. Consequently, will suffer heavily and actually from the hands of Russia, China, and the Arab countries. Later on, China will betray the Russians, and while the war will threaten the life of the whole planet, the army of Christ will intervene. The angels, in 3 days, they will change the history of humanity. They will stop the war, will save the planet, will save the men and women, physically and spiritually, that have worked for a right cause. That will purify the world from the pollution of industries, from chemtrails, from toxic waste buried underground in the oceans, from atomic pollution. After nuclear tests, America used the small islands as trash cans where radioactive materials were deposited, and the same did Russia. They used the Siberian region as a depot of radioactive substances. They have been found also in the Marianas Trench, in the sea at 11,000 meters deep, and everything will have to be purified, everything, to accommodate the return of Christ. We can imagine how burdensome and intense will be these 3 days of darkness. So let's alert the people, let's warn them, let's join our forces and unmask the works of evil. Let's do it actually. If you want to save yourself, you should combine 3 elements: prayers, works, and spreading the truth, and not just prayers. So, as always, I ask everyone the diffusion, the spread of this film, of this video, and above all, the translation into various languages: in English, French, Spanish, German, Russian, Chinese, any language, in Arabic. The whole world must know. We cannot remain indifferent to this news. So please spread it as much as possible. Dear friends, I'm done. Thanks a lot. See you next.